It may look like a game to you, but to me, it looks like a fucking stool sample. What can you say about the movie Alpha and Omega? Nothing, honestly. It hardly stands out.
Yeah, this film is hardly worth mentioning because of how weak and forgettable it is. It's basically Romeo and Juliet with wolves. Not much really stands out, but in all fairness, it was a success at the box office during its theatrical run, especially since this came out years after Lionsgate's other animated film, Happily Never After, which bombed at the box office after its theatrical run. And with Alpha and Omega success came straight-to-video sequels. Wunderbar.
So with that out of the way, it comes down to one simple question. Did it really need a crappy DS game?
I honestly should not be surprised at how stupid this game is, especially since it was released 3 days before the film's release. It's definitely one of those games that was rushed out just to promote the film and would eventually suck. I should expect a lot more effort to have been put into this game, but since this is a DS game not made by Nintendo or any of Nintendo's usual affiliates, I'd say we're in for a wildlife trek of trouble.
So let's pop this sucker in and bark at the moon over this bullshit.
Just a heads up, I'm filming both screens of the DS just so you can see what goes on within the gameplay, so please excuse the guerrilla-style filming. Oh, by the way, if any of you out there wants to try this game out, it is not backwards compatible for the 3DS. Honestly, it's an act of mercy in my book. Anyway, the game progresses in the same way of the film, only it's played out pretty damn slow when you start out. And when you start off a stage, you're given a storytelling segment by a narrator who sounds like a bored Alec Baldwin.
Kate is an alpha wolf. That means she is a hunter and a leader and takes her responsibilities very seriously. Humphrey, on the other hand, is more carefree. He loves having fun and making his friends laugh. While Kate goes away to alpha training camp, Humphrey climbs the stairs to his own
Jesus Christ, show some fucking emotion, will ya, pal? You're so fucking boring!
Anyway, after the cutscene, we finally get into the first game, which is log sledding, and... oh, wow, it's so boring, too. In fact, it looks vaguely familiar.
Oh my god, this is just like fucking Happy Wheels!
I'm not even kidding. They ripped off the gameplay from fucking Happy Wheels here. Hell, that game came out months before this one, or even during the release of the movie. The only difference is that you only play Humphrey in a single log, and there's no gratuitous bloodshed. Though it would be pretty cruel to see a wolf getting smashed into a rock. For the most part, the levels are pretty simple. Make it to the end and try to beat the clock. As you progress, you collect cupcakes along your route. But then you get to these annoying parts of the levels in which you have to make a flip or even a double flip. Now, doing the flips isn't a problem. It's knowing when to do the flips is the problem. For the most part, it's how they design the courses. You never know when you're supposed to do a good flip when certain terrains are so steep and too low to do a proper flip. And when you attempt to do a proper flip, you just crash on your ass. The same could be said for double flips, which are just as frustrating as the single flips. The only upside to this is the skip option if you have continuous failures.
Don't be surprised if this becomes a habit for me. This game doesn't deserve any form of perfection whatsoever. Ugh. Fuck you, game.
Bad enough I had to do all those flips and beat the clock, but now you're telling me to do all this shit just to pass the level? Do you enjoy our pain and misery? Well, whatever, this might be easier to deal with. And to be fair, the slopes are a lot larger to leap off of. The only problem is how the game registers your flip. If you do a double flip, it does not count as 2 flips.
Let me repeat that. because that's the kind of thing where your brain just comes to a halt. And the left side looks at the right side and goes,
That shit did not just happen, did it?
If you were to do a double flip in these slope levels, it does not count as 2 flips.
how in the fuck does that not count? A flip is a flip. If you do more than one flip, it's more than one fucking flip. That's like saying, oh, you gotta give me 50 cents, but not 5 dimes. It's the same fucking thing. Who gives a shit? It makes no sense.
Whatever, this whole thing's a mess, so let's just keep on going as best as possible. After you make it through all 8 levels of the stage, you move on to the next stage, which is a dashing level. You play as Kate, and you make your way through each level collecting cupcakes and wolf pack members. You can slow down or speed up as you make your way through the track, and you can jump or even double jump over chasms and obstacles. If you hit an obstacle or fall into a chasm, you lose a wolf pack member. The only question I have is the double jump. How the hell can a wolf double jump? It is impossible for anyone else to. Despite that nitpick, it's pretty decent. But in the long run, it's repetitive and annoying. Oh, and speaking of repetitive, have fun listening to the same musical score between this and the log levels, because that's all you're going to hear throughout these levels. And after passing through all 10 levels, you move on to the Howling stage.
Or as I like to call it, basically a shitty knockoff of DDR, Rock Band, and Guitar Hero. Not fucking said.
In these levels, you have to use the pen to pop bubbles as they reach the water, matching the beat of the music. So yeah, if you didn't like the music from the film, then expect no mercy listening to them as you play along.
Ooh. I've heard more appealing sounds from cats in heat.
Also in this level are 3 birds. Think of them as judges. If you screw up the song long enough, one of them will fall off the branch. If you lose all 3 birds, you lose the level and have to start over again. But if you manage to pick the bird up before it falls in the water and basically drowns to death, you might be able to beat the level. Also in these levels, you can collect these wolves' heads. When you select them, you build up the shadow of the wolf on the moon. When the shadow is full, you have to howl into the microphone of the DS to earn twice as much points.
Yeah, because howling into the DS won't make you look like a jackass, won't it?
After beating all 4 levels, you make your way into the next stage, which involves the goose and duck from the film, and a round of golf. And much like the game itself, it's completely fucking boring. Using your pen, you position your ball, then hold the ball and release it however you can. The further you hit, the further it will go. There's no limitation to how far you could play, as you basically play for points.
Its principles are like Whose Line Is It Anyway? Except it's completely worthless in the end, and it's not even entertaining.
Oh yeah, I forgot to point out that in each level you have these slideshow cutscenes that occur after a couple of levels, each supposed to be based off scenes from the movie itself. But if I wanted to watch the movie, I'll just watch the fucking movie. Thankfully, like the narration cutscenes, you can skip them by pausing and then pressing the skip option. That's basically your saving grace for the game itself. For the most part, the golf levels are pretty easy, but as you progress, you deal with annoying obstacles. If you get to the gopher holes, they will bump your ball away from where you need to go. If you get too close to a woodpecker, they will destroy your golf ball. There are also these wave patterns that can guide your ball away from where you need to be if you're not careful. But if you manage to get past them with enough exertion from the ball, you might luck out. And after getting 9 holes in each level, you move on to the next stage. Now, before I get into the next stage, let me point something out.
After you deal with the first 4 stages, you're going to be finding yourself doing the same shit again and again. Basically, this is all you have in the game.
The only difference is that they make it more difficult for you as you play each stage. When going back to the Howling levels, they add more song bubbles for you to hit, making it more challenging. So make sure you watch what you're doing, otherwise those birds will be drowning soon. And I hope you're not annoyed by these songs already. I know I want to be deaf after hearing them too many goddamn times. Anyway, after that you go back to the golf levels, which aren't as hectic as you progress, but do get challenging. Nothing noteworthy here, honestly. Next, when you're back at the dash levels, the speed of your run gets faster, so you have to be very careful when dodging obstacles and making your jumps. Not much that you can't handle, but it does require your full attention. During the second time you go through the log sliding stage, however, you have to avoid a bear from destroying your log. Once he reels back, you have to watch where you're standing in the position on your route. Otherwise, he'll knock your ass off. And later on during the stage, Kate joins Humphrey on a larger log, and you have to maneuver it as best as you can, since it's a little larger and can crash upon impact. And watch out for the debris that act as slopes. You might launch in the air slightly without warning.
So yeah, no pressure or anything. It's not like you have to do flips again. Oh wait, no, you actually have to do flips in these fucking levels again, while trying to avoid the fucking bear. Were these fucking game designers sadists?
You know, there's a difference between making a good challenge for a level and frustration. This is frustration in a goddamn nutshell. But the upside to the flips is that they can daze the bear once you do them. But in the end, it doesn't matter. It's either you beat the levels or you skip them. Makes no difference to me whatsoever. It also doesn't help that when you go back to the Howling level, you deal with more frustration when the amount of bubbles they have are too much for you to catch. Seriously, look at this shit. It's insane! It also doesn't help that I have to howl during the game. I'm already exhausted playing this crap. It's bad enough I have to howl during this shit. Anyway, after that, you go back to the dash levels, and just after a few seconds of when you start, you go way too fast. However, the best trick for you is to hold the left directional button to go slowly, so you can see where you're going and collect all the cupcakes and wolves you need in order to beat the game. And once you spot long gaps from the chasms, you can release the button and make your long jump. For the most part, it's pretty easy once you know where you're going. Then afterwards, you make your way back into the log slide levels, this time in the dirt terrain. Not much has changed, except there are more obstacles and more cupcakes to collect. And you have to be careful when making your landing on the long jumps.
The real saving grace in this game is that there are no flip requirements. A blessing from the Lord!
God be praised!
But that still doesn't stop you from dealing with the annoying obstacles. If you're not careful, they cause you to flip and crash. So yeah, have fun with that shit. But to be fair, it's a lot easier to make it through the levels than the last few times, mainly because there weren't any goddamn flips to do. So after all that, the climax of the movie is over from the game's storyline, and all is well, as we make our way into the final stage, which is another round of golf.
Who fucking raw?
Anyway, after you beat all of that, you finally get your happy ending. And boy, is it fucking sappy and disappointing. All for crap narration, a crap slideshow, and a hard to appear on the screen. As well as a credits list that is most definitely worth skipping. Was it worth it in the end?
Good fucking God, no! This game was a waste of time! It took me 2 fucking hours to beat this fucking game! 2 fucking hours! I've had more of a challenge playing the fucking Candy Crush games than I had playing this piece of shit!
This game doesn't seem to know what it wants to be. For the most part, it tries to be like the film itself, but doesn't know how to establish key elements of the film properly. The gameplay is too repetitive and too lanky to handle. Hell, the Call of Duty games have less repetition in their games despite having the same bullshit gameplay, but I at least would call them games. They could keep me occupied for over 2 fucking hours. In fact, I didn't even show you some of the gameplay issues that occurred within this game, like how you can miss a cupcake when you're that close to it, or how you can go through an obstacle when jumping a bit too early over it. But all in all, this game isn't worth the original price it was labeled. Hell, I bought this game for about $3 on Lukey's Games, and paid for the shipping as well, adding it all up to $5. $5 fucking dollars! I've played Steam games that were worth just as much as that, except they could keep my attention more than this pile of goose shit.
So as you can see, this game is hardly worth recommending, especially since it's a failed attempt to try to promote the movie. Hell, after playing this game, it made me want to avoid the movie altogether.
I know there are worse games out there based on movies, but they at least had more to work with since most of them were made for consoles. But this was a movie-based game made for the DS. You'd think there would have been more effort, but nope. It was just a half-assed product made to promote a lackluster film.
So all that's left for this game is to either trash it so it can never be seen again, or maybe recycle it into a new and better game. But in the end, it's just going to be a waste of time. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to play a game based off of a movie that doesn't suck.
Oh my God. My boy! Christ.
Before any of you make a comment in this video, yes, I will review this game someday, but for now, I just need to relax.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, as well as Channel Frederator and Cartoon Hangover. Also, visit me and Channel Frederator on Facebook, Twitter, and Tumblr. Just click on the annotations. And for more of my videos, visit me on Mr. Code and Friends, which is thatfellowinthecoat.com. Booyah!